Hello, everyone. This is Trista Dedman bringing you another transmission of the Liberate Yourself podcast, where we are discussing personal sovereignty during these transitional times on our planet. You are going to be delighted and excited by this discussion with Mira, who you may know as Mira Soul Wisdom online. Mira's enthusiasm for living life intuitively is infectious, and I know you will be utterly inspired listening to her story of transformation. We didn't know what was going to come through during our time together, so we ended up discussing the importance of lightworkers and star seeds sharing their gifts with others online. We're both adamant that this is the time to come forward and spread the message that is moving through you so we can begin connecting and creating more conscious community. We even go over some practical tips to help you begin sharing if this is something you feel fear or trepidation around. I hope you enjoy this lively conversation with the magical being that is Mira Soul Wisdom. Thank you for sharing this space with me.
Yes,
I really
of course.
appreciate it. And I really appreciate the connection that I feel like this time is facilitating as well. Like, it's really incredible how technology is so helpful in that, because there's so many of us that would have never met, and our lives would have never taken the trajectory that it would take if I was just thinking about that this morning. Like, even 10 years ago, we wouldn't be able to connect and, be able to create a livelihood, even if it, because we just didn't have the same kind of resources and technology available to us. It's really incredible. Like,
It's so incredible. I'm a total advocate of everyone being online.
Yeah. Well, because it's a tool like anything else, right? You can use it for good. You can use it as a crutch or a vice, even. It's like anything. It's just all in how you use it. You can't blame people can't blame the technology like it's making us stupid or anything. Like, it's really helping so much. Tell me,
I agree.
if you don't mind, I mean, the reason I reached out to you is because I was really inspired by there's a real power in the messages that you're sharing and the work that you're doing right now, which I know is ever evolving. And I'd love it if you could talk about that a little bit. But there's a really rich integrity to it. Like, I can tell there's genuine care and love and, wanting to do good. Like, as simple as it sounds, it really is that simple. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, if you would like to share just a little bit about how you found yourself where you are right now and what you're currently working on and offering people. Because I know you have a YouTube channel, you're doing tarot readings, which are very insightful. And I love that there's a gecko on the wall right behind you.
I spent part of the morning watching. I mean, they are so amazing. They really are little dragons.
So you're in Hawaii right now. You're in Kauai?
I'm in Kauai, yeah. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's sunny. These little guys are all over our space. They eat the little insects and bugs, and they're amazing to watch move. I mean,
they just take their time, right?
Yeah, they just do their thing, and I'm like, you guys have no idea how much joy you're bringing me. But I haven't come into contact with like developing a relationship. Like, I would love if they would crawl on my hand and on my body, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. How did you guys find yourselves in Hawaii?
We originally met in Los Angeles. Me and my partner Bryce, he had been there already for 11 years. So I was there for about 1 year, but we really wanted to move away from working for other people.
Yeah.
And we wanted to move away from the busyness of the city and be more immersed in nature. Not that you can't find it in LA, because you can, but we were just kind of like, especially because he had been there for 11 years. It's a long time in the city.
It really is. Yeah, I can attest to that.
It's can be a lot. It's busy all the time. So from there, we decided to move to Joshua Tree first. So we spent about 6 months in Joshua Tree. We opened up an Airbnb. Actually, we started an Airbnb first in LA, which is another passion of mine. I love designing. So we had a lot of fun. Actually, in Los Angeles, I decided to quit my job there. I just burst one day. I was driving on my way to work and I couldn't do it. Like, it came that day. It's like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. Wow. So powerfully. And so I had only had 2 Airbnb bookings prior ever. And I decided that day, I was like, you know what? If I feel this bad going to my job, there's no way that this is the end of this. My spirit and life must support me in this, in a transition. So that day, I didn't go into work. We went back to our apartment together and like had an amazing day. And like, I immediately felt the relief of leaving just, right away. And that day I got to confirm the choice that I made, the right decision. I got a confirmation. I got a 5-day Airbnb booking that day. And so I was just like, oh, this is yes.
Confirmation. Totally.
So that was really, it was so important. And then, I mean, it supported me living in LA at that time.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
Which I was paying $2,400 for rent monthly in LA. It worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, it worked. It's like, I didn't get that one, but like it kept booking. I was just deepening in my trust. We ended up going to Joshua Tree, doing Airbnb there as well. Throughout all of this, I've always shared for many, many years. Sometimes I couldn't even share through words though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would only share like on Instagram, for example, I'd share like a photo with like an emoji, right?
Because there's so much going on in the photo, like when you were taking it and you were feeling so much and you're hoping that everyone else would see that or feel that too. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Like, yeah, when you cannot even like speak or at certain parts of the journey, right?
Oh yeah, I have Mercury in Pisces. I know all about that. The fact that I'm like speaking at all about these topics is a miracle because I don't know how to do it sometimes.
I was so proud of you yesterday for the video you posted.
Thank you. I'm proud of me too, I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, it took time opening up, but now after moving from that sort of space where, maybe I could only share an image, it took me to start, when I started Mira Soul Wisdom, my website, I started writing about, how to make a smoothie, like
I did too.
10 exercise tips.
The perfect green smoothie and mindfulness and how important yoga is. Totally. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep.
No, it's okay.
I don't mean to keep interrupting, but yeah, our journey is very similar because I actually like worked with, I was a designer too, like a web and brand designer and web developer, and I was focusing on entrepreneurs, but within that, it was still me like trying to fit me into like a viable skill or whatever. And so, yeah, I was talking about mindfulness and like, the balance of work and life. And like, I just wasn't saying it yet. Like, I didn't feel like it was safe in that space to just start being that on the outside. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes hard to articulate, and it takes time and it takes trust and opening up over and over and over and over. And then when that started, like, I forced myself at a time because I was inspired by someone at the time who was sharing so openly and freely. I was like, oh, wow, because I didn't even know really like social media or people sharing online was even a thing really at that time.
Yeah.
And so when I found out it was, and that I was so inspired by someone I knew that was sharing so openly and freely, I decided to start sharing through blog posts originally on Mira Soul Wisdom. And so I remember I forced myself to do it every day for a month. Like every single day I would do a new blog post about, different kind of things that I would like, I think are to me boring now and I really don't care about in a way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was a way that
It was an
allowed
exercise.
me to open up and to share more freely and to practice with writing and communicating.
And finding your voice, right? Like finding your specific voice.
Yes.
Are you very
So,
introverted for the most
um,
part? Well, you're,
I feel kind of both. I
yeah,
spend a lot of time alone though. A
yeah,
lot of time alone.
gotcha.
So I spend a lot of time alone, but I also love being with people when I am. I mean, I would say a little bit of both, but the majority of time I spend, I would say, with myself, with my partner. So,
Me
and
too.
then I have like few close friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Like and I'm also really picky about whose energy I blend with now because it does,
Yeah.
we do, especially when we're really sensitive, we pick up on the other
Mm-hmm.
person and it lingers. I'm just now like realizing this.
Yeah.
Even being a Pisces, for some reason, this never like occurred to me that other people's resonance stays with me and stays with us, with all of
Yeah.
us, after an interaction. So I'm totally the same way. Like I love being alone and it's not like a sad thing. I think when people hear that sometimes they think that like, oh, that's too bad. I'm like, no, get away from me. Like this is what I need. So I appreciate it
Yeah.
so much. Yeah.
Well, and it allows you and it allows me to share and reach. I feel in a way it's the cultivation of that energy that you're able to allow to bloom in such a way inside you that when you're sharing, especially as we're both making video content now, it's like that can reach many, many people over time. My connections, although I value and cherish personal connections in that way,
Hmm.
I'd rather the light in a way spread as far and wide as it can and reach
Hmm.
as many people, not necessarily needing that personal connection. But if certain ones form, then of course that's something to celebrate, to
Yep.
find, that sort of resonance and match. Back to your original question, which was how we
Oh
about
yeah.
the space coming to Kauai.
Yes. Because
um,
you went there intuitively, right?
yeah, I had felt because I had lived on different islands a few years ago. I was on Maui and Oahu and Big Island, so I had lived like few months here, few months there. But Kauai was the original island that I knew had some potent magic for me. But it didn't allow me to come until now, really. That's what I felt
Interesting.
happen energetically, that it didn't really open up the space for me to come until there were many processes that happened before that, just to
Mm,
prepare my spirit to
yeah.
come here. And so now we are, I mean, fully focused on our missions here, being with that fully and enjoying. I mean, we don't know how long we will be here necessarily, but I see why. However many years ago it was now, maybe 5 years ago, I had the first prompting to go to Kauai. And, it took me on a trip to many places before coming here. But now that I'm here and the energy of this space and this place, it's matching now in my work and everything I do.
Do you feel comfortable sharing the mission?
Well, for me, my mission and the orbit I'm aligning with is to allow my light to flow freely and openly with everyone, and so all the different ways that that chooses to manifest, if that's through dance, if that's through art, through the tarot readings. I feel right now what's important is the spoken word.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I do
Yeah.
too, even though it's like not my chosen form of communication necessarily,
Yeah.
but feeling that so strongly,
Mhm.
even through the trepidation. And like I said in my other video, it's not fear. It was fear. Before I started this podcast, there was some definite stuff that was coming up. It seems like the most important time that we have to come forward. Not just me and you, but like
Right.
everybody, everybody that is feeling this way, that is resonating at this frequency, that is, working to raise their vibration. It's been a curious pondering or contemplation for me. Because for the longest time, like what we're known for, or what people who study the mysteries, people who study the occult and practice it, or magic, I think that part of the trepidation comes from the fact that it has been hidden. It has always needed to be hidden. That's the very
Mhm.
nature of it. I mean, occult means hidden. It does feel so important that it comes out into the open because I feel that it's needed now more than ever. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's not, maybe the mainstream isn't ready for it, but there is a huge grouping of us that are ready for it and that are hungry for it, and that is what actually makes sense to us and always has. Like, we've always felt that truth.
Yeah, I feel that it has to come out now. Also, because what happens in the process of the coming out is each one of us grow in our own light. It's like the light doesn't need to hide.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The light
Yeah.
doesn't need to hide. And so, speaking and being open and coming together, I feel, and what I found happens in the process of sharing and coming out in a way, like, right? Coming out.
Yeah,
It's kind of what it feels like
it does.
in some ways.
It
But
does.
yeah. And it's like in this coming out process, what happens is our true face appears. Because the more, like, let's say for example, video content. My partner has worked in the film industry when he was in Los Angeles, and he always says the camera doesn't lie, the camera shows everything. And so when you put yourself in front of a camera, it doesn't hide the energy. Let's say someone orchestrates the perfect YouTube video. They take hours and hours and hours making this perfect video. The thing is, there's good and bad in that, because people's attention spans are short, and people don't like to listen necessarily to energy in between the pauses because they feel uncomfortable and they're impatient.
Yeah.
But the reality of all of that is, well, of course, it's perception, but those pauses, those spaces in between, and that authenticity of having a pure transmission is so real, it cannot be faked. And
Mhm.
so, us as star seeds, light workers, shadow workers, all of the beings that are stepping forward, no matter if they want to do it or not, in the process, what we find is that our true face is revealed, our divine face. Because
Mm.
as we keep coming out, all of the layers of the false nature just starts dropping and falling.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we spend if someone is starting a channel, right, and they're like, that's it, I'm gonna do it, and
Yeah.
no one's gonna stop me, and
Yeah.
they decide to do it, what happens within that time is their own transformation happens, because spirit has already got them, right? Spirit's
Mhm.
like, well, they are opening themselves to
Mhm.
be a channel of the light. Of course, there are many different channels, and this is why I find too setting up the space beforehand is incredibly important.
Mhm.
Because if you go and watch different videos and different things, there's some crazy stuff going on there.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of black magic stuff going on. But the beauty in this unfolding is that all of those resistances within those people sharing is completely falling away, being stripped down. And after a while, after they've been doing this consistently, they will discover that of the ease of it, of the light. because they're completely in their unity with their divine self. Whatever resistances may come, they will disappear with the consistency of them coming out.
Absolutely. You become that vessel for that to come through. It's like just making the decision puts everything into motion and like creates that momentum.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can attest to that. Like things just start falling into place, and it's easier than when you were forcing or trying something that wasn't your real truth before. Like,
absolutely,
when you try to do something that is what you're told you need to do, and I see people doing it all the time, it doesn't always work out, or it's really difficult, or it's really hard. And when you decide that, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to be me and I'm just going to share, things just fall into place. I would have never, and I would have never trusted that before. I would have never trusted that. And, you know, before like this year or last year, it's crazy. I think everyone is supported in that right now. It's not anyone. Yeah, it's not like, oh, certain people are special and they get to share. Like it's not anything like that. It's not this, like I think celebrity culture has just kind of messed with our heads in that way. Like mainstream consensus reality put people that were paid to be, you know, their jobs were to be in front of the camera or to be on screen, you know, and we held those people up as gods or whatever. I think it put a lot of weird mental blocks in us to like just show ourselves, because that's when the who am I's come up. Like, well, who am I to be like showing myself or whatever? But why not? Some of the best content and some of the like wisest things that I've heard have come from people that I don't know who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, who are you coming out of the woodwork just speaking truth, you know? And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I just think that that's a big part of social media and the culture with technology right now, is that it is just okay to, and it's so easy to just show yourself and to just share what you're going through. What is that saying? Like everyone has an audience of 1,000 people or something like that. Like you don't have to appeal to everyone, but the people that do resonate with you are going to be magnetized to you. You're going to attract them. And then that's your like hub or your own little, you know, connecting point in this new system, this new grid that we're building, I believe. That's kind of how I see it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. And I've been feeling recently in a way that there's a limitation in a sense, although I love to write, you know, and I write all the time, but being able to see people and connect with them and hear them and tune into them and everything like this is so powerful. You can't hide behind anything, and so it's the most real way. When I create a video, like I turn on the camera after I set up the space and create what I need to in that space. Before I turn on the camera, I record and when I'm completed, I turn it off and I upload it.
You're a baller too. You don't even edit. There's no edits in your videos. I'm just like amazed.
No, because I really want to allow in the moment, because I think there's so much fear wrapped around our gifts and our sharing sometimes. I want to do it in the most simple way, and I also want to be sharing as much light as possible. And if I spent time editing each, that's all I would be doing, actually. I don't think I could really share to the highest potential in that way and continue to grow and expand, because I think it would start limiting me if I had to edit all the time.
It's really inspiring.
You know, so I don't know. I feel that this is what needs to be done right now for myself at this time, and then to be continued, but I don't feel like editing.
I don't blame you. I don't like it either. I'm trying to consolidate that as well with the podcast, you know. it takes so much time. I mean, there's something to be said for like polishing. I'm just that way. Like I have a lot of like Libra energy happening for me, and so I just like things to be polished,
Mm-hmm.
and presented in a certain way. But you're right.
Which is still good, right? Because
There needs
you're,
to be a balance, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really inspiring the way that you are sharing, and I definitely aspire to that with my own videos, because you can tell that you've prepared yourself. You can tell that you've prepared the energy of that moment for that group of people, you know.
Yes. I feel like it's my responsibility to prepare the space for the highest message to come through. I feel that when it's happening. You feel it moving through you in that way. But what do you feel right now? Like what do you pick up on in the collective that would be helpful for us to share? You know?
Why are you asking me the questions that I have written down to ask you? I was
Okay,
just
I
about
can
to
ask.
ask you that. No, thank you for asking that. I think we can both share what we've
Yeah.
been feeling. They probably sync up. What I feel is happening right now, and I'm an astrologer, so a lot of it comes through astrological symbolism according to the transits that are happening. I contemplate that quite often. But what I can feel happening right now is that we have so much energy going on with Saturn, Pluto, South Node, and Capricorn. And that's kind of that's the big story for this year or more, the conjunction coming up in 2020. But right now, those two, Saturn and Pluto, are really flanking and working on the South Node, like us getting rid of these past patterns, these traditions, these systems, these structures that just can't hold. Like they literally cannot hold their structure with the new vibration that, we're all collectively rising to. I feel consistently resonating with. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
day by day anymore. Like it's fleeting. It's
Mm-hmm.
with me anyway, it's very consistent and it feels very
Yeah.
true. And that being installed, I can really feel how the old structures are literally crumbling and disintegrating very, I don't want to say easily, but it's just happening. Like it doesn't seem
For
like
you, maybe it's happening easier and
maybe,
easy for
yeah.
you.
Because I've been waiting for this. Like I've been wanting this since I was like a teenager, when I was more ranty. Calling my high school a fascist regime and shit like that. Like I've been so ready. But no, I feel like it's easier than I would have expected. I mean, of course there's, difficult things happening and that's not everyone's experience, but what's really interesting is the softness that's coming in, like the Cancer, the mother energy, the feminine energy that's not replacing, like it's coming in to balance with the masculine. I really feel that in these really fascinating ways, not like you would, and that is who she is, right? Just mystery, the void. We don't
Absolutely.
totally understand it, but it's I was just reading Neville Goddard, and I love this quote. How the subconscious is the womb of creation. I don't know, for some reason, like I feel that our subconscious yearnings and we're starting to really soften and open up to the inner realms and our own subconscious, our own psyche. Like we've been talking about, I feel like that is coming to the forefront even more. And I can see maybe over the next 2 to 5 years how that is going to be more of a norm, and how systems will be built integrating that or incorporating that need, like especially for just, I mean, we know just as women specifically, it's so important for us to remember our feminine aspect, remember the cycle of our being, that we need to rest. We can't just like burn ourselves out and just produce. We have to receive.
Right.
Like
Yes.
duh, like receiving just is
Yeah.
so the power in that. It's not nothing. I mean, it is in
No.
an esoteric sense, of course, but like it's not useless. It's
No.
very powerful. So that was
Yeah.
a long ramble, but that's kind of what I'm
No.
feeling is happening right now. Like really, I think that people can open up to that softness and just allow it to happen.
Yeah.
What you're letting go of is the attachment to a false sense of security, false sense of a lot of things. You're letting go of that. It doesn't mean that nothing's going to be in its place. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden
Right.
you cease to exist or something. I don't know what we're afraid of. What seems to be filling in that gap is this immense sense of oneness and unity and love for
Hmm.
ourselves, like for ourselves, and then that gets radiated out to others. And that's what we're sharing. That's what's important to come out and share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the contrast of the rigidity of the systems that people are living in now, and really a lot of people forcing themselves to show up for,
Yeah.
it's completely saying, I do not trust in my divine gifts and my divine nature. And so I'm willing to sell my soul for something lesser so that I can receive this false of the money and whatever they're receiving, because really it's completely killing their soul and their gifts and their missions here. I really feel that everyone has a mission here in a way. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're spending all of that time somewhere that, and you're not allowing that
Energy,
feminine, yeah,
spending your energy, like your mental, psychic, like awareness and attention is going to,
everything,
yeah, sorry.
everything. It's really limiting. But what has to happen too, because just like the last job that I left, right? This is it's a process of the softening happening. For
Yep.
me, it wasn't a softening that occurred though. For me, it was a tightening. It was a complete restriction of my life force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Complete restriction that made me pop, literally that day, burst into tears in order for me to leave and to realize I can't wait another day. I have to move into my freedom right now because I can't live this dual life. With
Hmm.
everything that I know in my heart, I have to embody that and live that fully, or else I am a lie and I'm living a dualistic life. So for me, it was that restriction that
Hmm.
happened
Hmm.
in order for me to let go, which ended up creating the feminine energy of more softness coming in, which at that time of hustling and working all the time, I mean, that was non existent. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I was becoming the ice queen straight up. So
Yeah. We have
like,
to just to
don't
get
fuck with me, I'm gonna burn you down, like, get out of
exactly
my way, I need to get my hustle on.
right. I know. And it's like that is even more exhausting than
Yeah,
just being,
it's exhausting, and what I find now is with doing the work that I love and with the tarot and with writing and sharing and all of this creative energy that's flowing through, is I have so much energy now. Bryce saw me when I was working and how I would wake up.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun for
No.
anyone, for him or for me. And now, I'm a total goofball in the morning, and all of the light is able to flow because the channel is clear and I'm doing the work that I love. And
Hmm.
so sometimes people think that it's a risk. Like, if I leave this, what's going to happen? But if you are able to just let go of whatever that is, something else will open up for you. This is when
Hmm.
you have to believe in magic
Yeah.
and the possibility that anything is possible.
And that there's endless possibilities. There's so many possibilities and pathways open. Just pick one. Like it's really all about just claiming and choosing and making choices.
Absolutely.
There's
Completely
not, the
through and
universe is
through.
not out to punish you.
No,
Like,
it's not. And
it's
that's
not a
that's
punishing
exactly
parent.
what the 9 to 5 does. It's not a
Yes.
punishing parent. It's not the 9 to 5. It makes you think like you're constantly on edge all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly on edge. You're constantly trying to manage all the pieces of your life and put things together and formulate things.
And fill in the gaps so that you don't have to like stop and think about how depressed you are. That's how it
Yeah,
was for me anyway. I
it
know, I
is.
see it, you see it on people's faces too. I live in Seattle. It's like the next Silicon Valley. It's just huge tech boom. Amazon is spreading, it's Amazonia basically. Like you just see tons and tons of office workers, and I know that some of them enjoy the work that they're doing or the contributions that they're making, but still, I just see their faces just in anyone's face, like any city.
Yeah.
They're not expressing joy, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way. Like it almost feels weird to walk like you almost have to like shut it down and like not show your delight and your joy at that flower or whatever like in public
Right.
because you really stick out, and especially here they may think you're crazy. You know, I don't know, hopefully
And
that'll change at some
it's
point.
crazy that you would have to hide that. Be honest, probably what they need is to see that light and to see
I know.
someone with an actual smiling. It's as if it's wrong to be happy. And I used to feel that way a lot. And I used to hide my light. I
Mhm.
used to hide my light all the time
Yeah.
because of that exact thing. It's like you start doing what? You start hiding your light to reflect a false image so that what? No,
Yeah.
it's because everyone, or if you see everyone around you in this busy city that's just like right in their mission mode, on their
Yep.
hustle, in pain,
Worrying
and
about
some of them
something.
of course some of them aren't, and they're doing what they love. there's
Yeah.
there's both, but there's the obvious contrast
Right.
of the people who are losing their souls in every single moment that they're doing those things.
I've
I
stopped
saw.
hiding it. I've definitely like
Mm,
experimented and stopped hiding it. And funny enough, people really respond to you well. A lot of times they're a little bit confused at first, maybe, but then they're like, oh, like you make them feel better. You literally like bring the light to them. Like, oh, okay. I don't know what I was afraid of before. I think
yeah, no, I
everyone should
did the
do it.
same thing. I think I did the same thing. And I think too it's just an old patterning,
Yeah.
and the more we come into our light and share that, I think people just start opening up and beaming up around us.
Do you have anything to share as far as like what answering your own question, like what you feel is going on in the collective that you think is like right now that's going on?
I've been coming across a lot of people that want to share in a new way that will open up their lives in many different ways, but the fears that are arising with that's what I'm finding mainly right now, is that people are wanting to come out, but they have a lot of irrational fears arising at the same time.
Can you name some examples?
Mainly coming out in public is really
Just being seen.
what has
Yeah.
arisen a lot. And these are people too that when I speak to them, I'm like, you have so many beautiful gifts. And that's when it comes in for me that it's not about us individually sharing. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the individual sharing. It's about letting that light pass through and opening yourself and just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be courageous, open up your heart. Okay, so it might be a little nerve-wracking, big deal, because you're gonna get to the other side. You will get to the other side, but you have to take that seeming risk in the moment to open that door. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of times when I've just speaking one-on-one to different people, and I found that there's a lot of fears that arise that keep them from moving into their power, that keep them really in a small contracted state. This is a wide age range of people. So it's like how long or how many years will we wait to come out? Because if someone decides and chooses, through all the fear, through everything that comes up, to commit for 30 days to open up, let's say it is through video content, which I feel really is the most authentic in many ways. But I'm a passionate, love writing. So, okay, let's use both video or writing and sharing every day. Within 30 days of that person doing that consistently every single day, by the end of those 30 days, that person is going to be a completely new human being.
Yeah.
And everything that they were scared about on day 1 will be completely gone, if not mostly gone, by day 30. So that's all it takes. So let's say someone is 65 years old and there's something that has been pressing in their being, and there's something they know they're not fully alive in their being. They know they're not completely in their presence and in their power, and there's something that they want to share in the world as a gift, or not even that. Maybe it's something that they want to make or create, or a business they want to build, or a trip that they want to go on. It's about making the choice to really dive in and to do it and to be bold and to realize that we don't know how long we're all here for. If you keep putting it off year after year after year, that cultivation and that growth isn't allowed to bloom to its maximum capacity. It gets left in the dust behind.
That's what most people say on their deathbed. It's about what they didn't do or the chances that they didn't take. That's what they regret the most. I was also going to suggest for people, if it's super scary to put yourself out there in front of people or to, just begin sharing, because I did this before the podcast. I just recorded myself just for myself, either audio. We all have an audio recorder on our phone. We all have a video recorder on our phone. Just record it for yourself. Do a video or an audio diary, journal daily for yourself, and
absolutely
just practice,
Yeah.
And then, because that's for the people who it's really super scary to be in front of, an audience essentially,
right,
or viewers. I think that's a way, just like with writing blog posts every day, right? It helps you to get your voice and your cadence down and your message down, because we all have, I feel, there's general, but also specific messages that are expressing through us. And so it's this great exercise in how it's expressing through you, or what your message is, what you are sharing. So you're not rambling on like I often do still. I don't know how exactly to say this, but we can hear, have courage, just do it. But sometimes I feel like you have to find your specific chord of courage, what courage is for you internally, what that looks like, feels like. That is where working with the inner fire is really helpful in the solar plexus. And
absolutely
really working with the element of fire. And what does that feel like to you? How does that express itself through you? And then you can get that courage from within, instead of it still being an abstract idea of what society says courage is. That's a pattern that's still running, because we think it has to look and sound and be a certain way. And it doesn't. It has to look and sound and be like you. That's why sovereignty and personal sovereignty is so important, to me anyway, is because it has to be emanating from within us, not a copy of something else.
Yeah, of course. It'll be so different for each person. And I love what you said. Recording yourself with writing and journaling is a powerful tool. All of those things. Me and Bryce the other day, we just found a video that I had made to myself about 2 years ago. And wow. Does it tell a story? Does it tell
what did past story? Samira have to say to future Samira, and vice versa?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, I could see in many ways, I was prophesizing, although I was in a very heavy transformative space when I took that video, going through massive, massive changes. When I made the video, the clarity was still there to prophesize what I would be doing now, but the way I was communicating and speaking was very airy and in the sky, and I couldn't ground any of my skills. So I had also spent 2 years traveling prior to that.
Okay.
So I was traveling around the world and doing many different things. And so I was never in one necessarily stable location for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Lots of movement, and so, internally, physically, but the message, I was just practicing, right? In a way, I made a message for myself, and I was saying in the video, I don't want to do it, but life wants me to share.
Oh
And
my
like,
God, yeah.
yeah. And so when I listened to your video the other day, I fucking understood it through and through, because I had made that video when I made that a couple years ago, and I said that, and I was like in front of the mirror doing my makeup and just sharing for like half an hour, just talking to myself. And in that whole video, I was prophesizing what has occurred since then. But the contrast to my experience now and the preparation that it took for my soul to go through in order to share freely and openly and in alignment now, it's like day and night contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the different processes that people have to be guided through within their own being in order to transform into that blooming that can be so freely shared, because I see it in my own transformation, and it's not an overnight process.
No.
It takes time, and it takes dedication, and it's a choice. So what I see now is I did the best I could at that time, which
Mm-hmm.
was to turn on record and do what I could in that moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
and to talk to myself. And the next video after that was me singing and dancing with my hands and like opening up even more. The next video was more of that light coming through. I was growing in my power little by little. So it's this process, but within that, it's a choice of the daily commitment to your inner soul and your inner fire, and your complete dedication to your blooming of your being and your soul's evolution.
Mm-hmm.
With that in your being, you will not fail. You
It's
can't
true.
fail. You will keep
Mm-hmm.
blooming, you will keep opening. And so if someone is completely frightened in some sort of way to come out, and they're in some sort of process, for them to commit, like you said, turn on your own video, record yourself, journal for yourself, write, practice in that way. It's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And over time, they will see that they are opening and opening.
And then they'll want to share the, because that's what it's really about, is sharing the experience with others so that they know that they can do it too and that they're not alone in this work. Part of the reason for this entire podcast is to make sure people know that they're not alone in this kind of work. Right. Yeah, it's interesting how working on ourselves, making building our own personal strength just ripples out and emanates and benefits everyone. And to our logical mind, the way we've been trained, that makes zero sense. But it's completely true. It's like the truest thing that I've witnessed in life so far.
I love you. That's so cute. No, I agree absolutely 100% with you. People can think, okay, that's too self-absorbed. You're doing too much for yourself. Wait and see what happens to the being that has dedicated to their soul work and their opening and their own unveiling. And wait to see how it will ripple out into the world, and how that self-absorption you may have thought is going to affect many, many people in that light, in the power of that light. We don't know how all of this will transpire.
I
And
know, we
that's
have no idea. It is the wild ride into the unknown. We don't know where we'll be in a year. We don't know what life is going to look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years. And that's exciting.
that's so exciting.
But we don't, we're making it and we're building it as we go along. There's no teacher, there's no boss that is telling us how. It's coming
Nope.
from inside you. We're all getting those messages for how to do it. And you have to
Totally.
listen to that. You can't listen to that if you're, still denying that it's even a part of you, or still denying that it's real. I think we're past that.
Yeah.
Part of me, like some days, I do just want to get on with it. That's why I liked Bryce's most recent video, because like I know exactly, like I just want to be over the transition part, even though the transition is important. This is kind of like the bridge time, and that's okay. I feel like that's why we incarnated here at this time, to be this age right now, all of us, because we're bridging the past and what we're going to be moving into, and we're here to create it, and like literally to like you said in the very beginning, be kids again and delight and joy and find that vibration. That's the vibration of creation. And you have to get rid of the conditioning and you have to just let it drop away. And I think that focusing on it too much actually, like you can get mired in it and wallow in it, where I feel like it is not beneficial at a certain point. I think you really have to get into the habit for yourself of like how to just let things drop away. And
Absolutely.
then it's
I'm all
gone.
for that. I am all for that. Yeah,
You
let it
can't just be
drop.
looking in the past. You can't just be like, it's not like psychoanalysis where, you can spend years and years on what your parents did to you.
Right.
Get the clarity you need and then look forward. Like we have to look forward. That's what I feel. Getting back to this current transit of Saturn and Pluto on the South Node, the South Node is the past. I mean, and it's not just our personal past, but it's collective past. It's our ancestral heritage, the history that we have inherited. And we need to drop away what wasn't working, take what is working, and go forward.
And that's where the excitement is.
I know.
That's when you get to create, like, yay, yes, I want to create this and this. And it's exciting and fun, just like when you see a kid and they do this and then they jump to this and they're in the garden and they're playing and they're doing a cartwheel. And
Yeah.
they're the good examples,
I know. And the ones that are coming in now, like, they know. They know what they're here to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so
Yeah.
envious of them sometimes because they're just blank canvases. And they say, like, they're coming in with the technology, with the energetic technology to build and create these new systems and everything. And I totally believe it. They're not as hindered by old conditioning like we are. We're kind of the bridge generations, I feel. And I think it's a good place to be. It feels right. And it feels good to like be able to reclaim, all of us, like no matter how old you are, be able to reclaim that child in us and
Absolutely. We need it.
not to hide it anymore. What's on
Um,
the horizon for you? Like in the future, any new projects that you're being called to do, or are you good with good and grounded where you are now?
Project wise, I really take it day to day with that.
It's good.
Yeah, I take it like moment to moment, day to day. I let the creations unfold, and it's, for me it's the most liberating
Yeah,
way.
I
And
agree.
so I find I create something in a way every day,
Yeah.
mainly. Yesterday I took the day, went swam in the ocean and was hoping a dolphin would come and swoop me up and take me into the deep ocean and
Yeah.
play in the secret cities. Which I feel will happen in this lifetime.
Yeah, I know,
But
right?
yeah, anything is possible. Weird
Mhm.
things are happening all day energetically. as our visions are opening, as our sight is opening and we're able to see, it's like there is so much going on. But as far as new projects and things, I really just take it day by day. For people who feel like they're ready to burst and they have all this creative energy moving through them, and it's almost to a point where it's a little bit painful to keep that light in a way, that wisdom, that knowledge, that those creations, whatever it is that's been brewing inside, if they're ready to pop, now's the time to go for it. Now's the time to choose. I can't hold this in anymore, and I have to be bigger than myself in a way and not let the fears hold me back, because anyways, holding it back is completely identifying with the false version of yourself anyways. It's not being in your divinity at all.
It's smaller than your real self.
Yes. And so realizing that, like even breaking that down in a practical way, if I am not choosing to do this thing that my soul is calling me to do, I am identifying in my false self. It's a very practical way to say it, in a very real way to say it, but that's what's going on. So every time you choose to not do those things, it's the identification of the small self. For those people that are experiencing that, to open, to play, to explore, to try opening, and to see how they feel after they do that. See what starts to shift in them and take place.
And maybe try making different choices, even if they're small ones, even if it's changing your routine or to something that's healthier or that's going to help you open up more. We make choices in every moment of every day almost. So really step back and observe, what different choices can you make? Because that can just, send you on a completely different trajectory. I love everything you've said today. And
thank you for sharing with me and opening the space for us.
Of course. I
appreciate it.
I love that you're following that, and that you did follow that guidance. And
I'm so grateful for it.
Me too.
I actually cried. I cried yesterday for the first time in a long time. It was after me and Bryce watched the video that I made 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were both so moved by it, by the amount of changes that have taken place. Like, thank you, me, for making that then. I needed to make more space on my computer. So I was going through old stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm fucking grateful for it. And I'm grateful for you for doing the same, and for posting what you did and standing in your light regardless anything that's arising. That's what we need. That is courage. Those are the people I love. Those are the people I honor, because they're willing to do it anyways.
I was super inspired by this conversation with Samira for my own projects, and I truly hope you were able to take something away as well. Be sure to connect with her online for one-on-one tarot readings, and check out her YouTube channel to get ongoing energetic guidance. You can find out more at mirasoulwisdom.com, and all the links for her will be in the show notes at tristadedman.com. If you feel lit up by these conversations, I want to personally invite you to become a patron of the Liberate Yourself podcast through Patreon. Patrons receive a monthly astrological forecast and even personal readings from me. To find out more and join this growing community, please visit patreon.com/liberateyourself. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.